Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's our Leeds United discussion show with myself, Stephen Brown, and also, as ever, joined by Jason Booker. Good evening, Jason. How are we doing, mate?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. So I want to welcome everyone along to the stream. How are we feeling, Leeds fans? Playoffs just a few days away, 3 days away now, until we play Norwich away at Carrow Road, 12:30 kickoff. How are the nerves doing? Well, get in touch, get your comments in, like the video, subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter or X, give it a retweet as well and get your comments in there also. And if you're listening again on Spotify later, please do also leave us a review and also rate the podcast as well. Okay, so we got the admin bits out of the way there, Jason. It feels like, well, it is crunch time now, isn't it? The league is over. Yeah, it's feeling real, isn't it? The league is done. Pretty much a damp squib against Southampton, but I think everybody knew at that point it was going to be the playoffs or staying in the Championship. And here we are, just a few days away from Norwich. How are you feeling about that, mate?
Yeah, I mean, my missus said to me earlier, she says, do you fancy booking a caravan for weekend? Says, are you joking? You taking piss? Like, no, just for the fact that obviously the game's on at the weekend, I will become
winding you up.
I think I'll become quite irritable over the next 48 hours. I always find that this happens before a crunch Leeds game. I become quite irritable. I become a bit prickly about anything, and I'm going to want to distract myself. I was talking to a friend about it via text earlier, and as much as I've kind of managed to keep myself quite cool this season, and I am like totally okay with being in the Championship again next season. For me, this next couple of weeks is about achieving something in terms, first off, getting to Wembley, because I'd love us to get to Wembley again. Two, taking away that hoodoo and actually being able to win a playoff would be beautiful and get through a playoff. And making sure that this season, which has been so good, doesn't end in complete like apathy almost, because I think there's definitely two ways that this can go in terms of us losing. We can go out on a shield over the next 2, potentially 3 games, or we could find that we absolutely get thumped by Norwich and we're left scratching our heads with more questions than answers going into the summer, and that worries me a lot. I want to win the tie more importantly than anything and get through to the final, but I'm really concerned that we're going to end up being left in these next 2 games thinking, what is happening? What's going on? And we're going to be left all summer, transfer rumours, waiting for the season to start. And then we're going to get, 6-7 weeks into the new season, sat 12th, and we're going to end up sacking a manager. And I can just see it. I can just see it playing out like that. So, yeah, I just think that especially Sunday, I said it on the last couple of streams that we've done, I think Sunday's massive game. And that we show that we're about it. I think we need to win. I don't want to go into that Elland Road tie with it level. I really don't. Or level even worth us being behind, because the atmosphere will just start from minute 1 at Elland Road on Thursday with nerves and anxiety. So yeah, I'm nervous, mate. I'm nervous, and like I say, I'm okay with us being in the Championship again. I am. I have made my peace with that potentially happening now, and I'm not like, I don't think that's the end of the world, because this season's been quite good. I think we'll win more games next season than we will do if we're in the Premier League. Obviously, I think we'd win a lot more games. I think we'd challenge again. There's a lot to be okay about it. But in terms of the bigger picture and then the smaller picture of this like mini tournament that we're going into with the playoffs now, it'd just be so nice to be able to enjoy it, mate.
It would. No, I agree. Just a couple of bits to let you know about on the channel as well. So if you've not seen this, myself, Jason, Lewis, Steve, we were at Avifest at the weekend. We've got a little video diary up there that's been uploaded today. So pretty good stuff. So if you get a chance, check that out. Cracking day, wasn't it, Jason?
It was, mate. It was a really, really good day. It was nice to get the boots back on. And play some 11-a-side action, and enjoy it with the boys from the show. Pretty much all of us were there, weren't we?
Chris and Dave and Gaz, they were there, weren't they, as well?
We had a fair chunk of us on the pitch as well, and it was a beautiful day for it. It was great for having you. I thought, there were hundreds of people there, and and even if a section of them come back and support them next season, I think that's great. You know, they're a club that have been on a bit of a hiding for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Locally, I think they are quite important to a lot of people. So hopefully it can be beneficial going into next season, because I'd like to see him have a good season. But yeah, the day as a whole, mate, were brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Also, I've got a little chat with Adam Pope that's going to be on the channel tomorrow as well. BBC's Adam Pope. Fascinating, really, to get his insight, because he's been there commenting on every playoff game we've had. Since becoming a commentator for BBC Radio Leeds, he's seen it all. We were having a good chat, diving into the derby and everything. It was good. So that's going to be on the channel tomorrow as well. So do keep a lookout for that as well. But getting back to Leeds United, a couple of comments coming in here. Nige, evening guys, playoffs equals championship next season. LUFC, Daniel needs to be stop being so stubborn. He needs to use this team's squad to its full potential. And a naughty one here from Mr. Bell. Can Leeds win the playoffs? Nope. Dear, oh
Look,
dear.
we definitely can. We definitely can. I mean, for everyone that goes past, you'd like to believe that it's getting close to us winning one. Sunderland did it after, I think they'd lost in more than us. I think they were 6 or 7 or something like that. I think Preston have got the worst record for it, and even they did it under Grayson, didn't they? So, look, we definitely can do it. I mean, at the end of the day, 5 separate instances of playoffs. Some were League One, some were Championship. I think we lost in the first ever one, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Pope was saying that today against Charlton.
Yeah. So
Billy Bremner in charge at the time.
Like that playoff final, or that playoff in its entirety, makes any difference on what happens in 2024's playoff. I just don't believe that. I don't buy into that in the slightest. I believe that what will make and break the game, and I'm sure we'll get into it in more detail, is what Daniel Farke does, what Wagner does, and what the players do. And the fans play a part in that too.
Yeah.
I think we can. I think we've got the best team, but at the same time, I'm not saying that I'm sat here confident, because I'm not.
No, there's absolutely no way you can look at our form since the international break and be confident that we're gonna turn up there. And really, this is the task ahead of Daniel Farke, is that, look, you've got to pick these players. Because the thing is, Jason, I'm on the same page with you. I've accepted if we in the Championship next season, we're in the Championship next season. We're a well-run club. I think they're going to be on top of recruitment. Fine. The thing that is unacceptable to me is a QPR performance, a Southampton second half performance.
Yeah.
If we go out meekly in this playoffs, if we just roll over, if it's 2-0 to Norwich by the 60th minute on Saturday, and then we get back to Elland Road and we draw 1-1, something like that. No, that is where that pre-season or that end of season turmoil that you were talking about earlier, that is where it's going to fester, because then you're looking at Farke going, is he the right man? Is he the right man? Now, for me, absolutely, you'd be mad to get rid of Daniel Farke after the season we've had. And I hope for his benefit that if we do go out, got to show some fighting spirit. You've got to show a hell of a lot more than what you've done recently. This thing of, experience, lack of experience, and I get it. I think it's a valid point, but at the same time, there's got to come a point where you go, look, we've got a very talented team. On talent, we should be doing this. There are pockets of experience. I don't accept us just rolling over. I don't accept us rolling over.
It felt like you were trying to make an excuse for that, didn't it? Where's
that come from? Where's that come from now?
Especially to check Luongo and Morsey, who, in my opinion, are bang average footballers. Yeah. They're bang average footballers. And don't get me wrong, I've made my case for experience being important, and I know it is. It absolutely is. But to kind of name check them two and be like, oh, I wish we had a Morsey and a Luongo, it just, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not ready to let Daniel Farke hang out to dry on it, but it seemed like a very, very weird comment. As for the form, only one other team in history have gone into the playoffs with the level of form that we have in the last 5, and that was Watford. In the year that the Deeney goal, they ended up losing the final. But they went into that playoffs with 2 points in the last 5, just like we have. Which I think is right, isn't it? 2 points in the last 5.
Yeah,
I've got 3 points in the last 5, actually, thinking about it, because of the Middlesbrough game.
No,
anyway,
to be honest.
The form's obviously not good. So it's bad.
Yeah, it's not good. And I think when you're talking about what Farke's done this kind of week, because there's quite a lot of time off, it's 8 days rest that they've had or whatever. We've seen a picture going round on Facebook or whatever showing the guys together out for meal, drinks or whatever, a bit of a bonding session. I mean, is it as simple as that? Can you kind of pull them up with something like that? I mean, I seem to remember something under Jesse Marsh and they did similar, and all the guys were together, and it just ended up not really affecting anything. But it's hard, isn't it? I mean, what do you do? I mean, you know, it's different to football, but you've been a manager before, and if morale's on the floor, and things are heading in the wrong direction, there's no momentum. I mean, what do you do to kind of change that state of play, really?
I think it's really, really difficult. I think at the end of the day, something like that, like a rah-rah, or a meeting, whatever you want to call it, it's a good thing if it works, and it means nothing if it doesn't. And I know that sounds ridiculously simple, but they absolutely can. And you hear stories of players going away and doing this or a meeting. I mean, look at Bielsa, the meeting that he put together after the Forest game. Yeah. Like these moments, and Cooper, Aileen, Dallas have all spoken about that meeting. And don't get me wrong, Bielsa's a very special case, but he still was able to kind of transmit a message and a feeling and put that into people in a certain way that then changed our fortune. So absolutely it can. I think what that shows is that the players, there's a leadership group within that team that are still trying to put it together. I reckon that was a player-run thing rather than a management-run thing. There were some omissions from that, which I thought, I didn't know if could have been potentially weirder. There were no Connor Roberts there. There were no Joe Gellart there. There were a couple of others missing. Maybe they just couldn't make it, whatever. But the majority of the squad were there, and that's what's important. It can make a difference. It definitely can. I'm not saying it will, but hopefully throughout this week between Farke, the players, they've kind of had a reset. Because I do believe that this team more mentally is fatigued than physically. The young lads, they should be able to really compete to a high level over the whole season physically. Even though not many of them have played over a 36-game season before, by the way. There's not many of them at all. I think there's 3 or 4 in the whole squad. So that will be playing a small factor, but I don't think that's playing as anywhere near the same size of a factor as the mental fatigue that they're probably going through. To have to keep on pulling out them performances and then wins week after week after week after week. It's challenging. And we've seen the turn in the fortunes as being once we hit the height. Unfortunately, we've had the slip back the other way in terms of the results. So
it's a tricky one because I mean, looking at them coming into this game on Sunday, and for me, the big issue with Farke, the biggest issue I would say is certainly in this recent turn is just lack of faith in the rest of the squad. For me, you're not getting the results anyway. You're clearly not getting the performances. You're not getting the results. Why not try something else now? You could argue it's the wrong time to be changing things up going into a semi-final. And I'm not saying the style of play or anything like that, but for me, personnel, and last week was a good opportunity for Joseph. It was a good opportunity for Gellart. It was a good opportunity for even maybe Cresswell. I don't know, just something different. Look, I'm not saying that it waves a magic wand, but I just feel that if we just go out, if Pirro starts up front, and if it's that performance from the collective that we've seen numerous times now, I mean, he's not going to have a leg to stand on, his Farke. It's going to be one of those situations where there's going to be a hell of a lot of resentment in the fan base towards him if it's just the same thing over and over again, the same personnel. It becomes a bit toxic, I think, at that point. Regardless of getting 90 points or whatever, I just think, we talk about squad. I mean, would you have swapped this squad for Ipswich's? Would you have swapped the squad for 23 other teams in this league? I mean, you wouldn't. Well, you would not take Ipswich's team over this.
I do think there's an argument to be said that the other three, and I'm including Southampton in this, in that their squads are a bit more balanced than ours. I will agree with that, in my opinion. Even Ipswich's, I just think that there is more balance throughout the whole 11. Even the bench, the subs that come on to change games for Ipswich, it feels like it's more purposeful. Whereas we bring on Joe Gellart, and I know we've got Anthony, and I'm not saying all of the bench. Even Matteo Joseph, he's not the same grizzled striker as a Kiefer Moore or Ali El Hale or whatever his name is from the sign from Wimbledon. It's not the same. When I watch Ipswich play, it feels like it's far more fluid than what we look like over a 90-minute game. As long as I can remember this season, we've said that we've not had that many 90-minute performances. It always feels like it doesn't fully click. But I absolutely hear you as well in that you wouldn't look to swap this squad. The amount of talent that we've got, especially in attacking positions, the likes of Glenn Kamara, European finalists. And he weren't a bit part player in that team. He were a main player in that Rangers side that got to that final. So, no, you absolutely won't look to swap this squad. Yeah.
No, some comments to get through here. Gregory, 4-3-3 is getting banded around as a fix for us. What do you think, lads? 4-3-3. I mean, is that similar to what we were saying, where you'd kind of maybe have a Gray, Kamara, Gruev or something in midfield?
We dropped it in midweek, didn't we? Even we spoke about it before it kind of getting banded about. I think there's a case for it, and that is probably exactly what I would do. But you know what? I'm not a high-level football manager. And this kind of conversation that we've had about Daniel Farke now for the last probably 2 months, we had about Bielsa. Bielsa never changed his formation. Bielsa very rarely changed the individuals that within the system either. You can recite that team off the top of your head, especially 18-19 season. It was the same team. Oh, Cooper's wheeled out again. We had Alioski at left back or whoever were before. It was the same team. Season 2, I can recite you the full team. Bamford, Costa, Harrison, Click, Phillips. It was the same team. Ayling, White, Cooper, Alioski, Melier. That was the team, wasn't it? Week in, week out. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if Bamford were off form. It didn't matter if goals weren't coming from midfield. That team kept on getting wheeled out. And he said exactly the same. Week in, week out, it's better to make plan A work again than look to plan B. And most of the high-level managers over time are exactly the same. We're not, I've seen fans argue back, oh, Man City don't do it. Yeah, but Man City have got world-class players, 2 of each in every single position. That's not a fair comparison. You go and have a look at all the other teams outside the top 5, I would say. They don't rotate week in, week out. They play the best 11. And the same goes for the Championship. I think Kieran McKenna's shown a bit more of a flexibility, but most of the time the team would be exactly the same if the 11 were fit. So yeah, he won't change it. He won't change it. He isn't going to change it to a 4-3-3. I do think there will be individual changes, though. I do.
Well, if that team sheet drops at 11:30 Sunday morning, and you see Pirro up top, be honest, what are you thinking at that point?
We won't see that because Bamford's going to be fit and Bamford's going to start. That's my gut feeling. If Bamford's not fit, Pirro will start. He will, Browney. He will. And the crazy thing is, and I've seen some people say that he didn't play well on Saturday. He did. I'm not saying he played great, but he had an above average performance, right? But the rest of the team is also been a problem. This issue that we've got isn't just because of Pirro. I would say against let me thinking back here. QPI was awful, but the rest of the team were awful as well. It does make a massive... Bamford makes a huge difference because of what it gives us defensively as well as going forward. The whole team just clicks so much better. But if he's not fit, I do have worries that Joseph or Pirro will probably look exactly the same. Yeah, I do have... I'm not saying that he will because we haven't seen enough of it, but I do have a gut feeling that is probably... We'll see exactly the same thing, and then people will go, oh, he should have started Nonto there, or he should have started Rutter there, or whatever. So I don't think that the sprinkle of kind of special powder is from Joseph.
I think he's missing chance. Well, I think the Joseph
trial.
I
agree.
I just, now it'd be really difficult to see how you would start if Bamford's not fit. How you would start Joseph now, because you've left him out and you've given him 2 minutes here and there. To then just suddenly throw him in, it would almost send a message out of lack of kind of belief in what you're doing. Looking at Norwich, then, Jason. They've got a stellar home record. Away from home, they're not great, but that home record, and we're visiting there. We beat them 3-2 earlier on. For 40 minutes, we were pretty awful in that game. And then literally Barker just threw, caution to the wind and threw all the attackers on and we overturned it. I would say, though, the mood, chatting to Poppy today, he was saying, he's spoken to a lot of Norwich people and they're on a bit of a slump as well. The feeling's not great around Norwich either. They're kind of coming into this going, well, we managed to kind of wrestle it away from Hull, but, look, we've lost to Birmingham last day of the season. It's a bit flat their end. They don't look quite ready. So it's not only us that kind of feel this kind of end of season slump, but it's impacting them as well.
Yeah, they're in poor form as well. They're in really bad form, actually. They lost to Birmingham, who were obviously inevitably relegated at the weekend. Apparently, they looked like they were completely on the beach, which is a bit of a worry going into the playoffs, really. It's kind of excusable, but they've been in bad form too. You'd think that they would want to go there and get something out of that game. But that being said, they have got some dangerous players. They're a good side. Josh Sargent has had a really good season. People will kind of scoff at him, but at championship level, he's a decent striker. I think he's got 16 goals and a number of assists this season. Everybody knows about Gabriel Sara, very, very good player. Johnny Rowe might be back. He's a decent winger himself. He's a very good winger, actually. They've got some serious ability within that team. We saw it at Norwich. I actually thought at Elland Road they were unlucky not to get something out of that game. They outplayed us for large parts of that game. We defended extremely well, I thought, on the day. I thought we were excellent at the back. That's kind of what we built the 2024 form on, was just not conceding goals. We scored a really good goal fairly early, I think about 20 minutes in from Pat. And then after that, pretty much it were all Norwich, really, by one or two moments. They played really, really well on the day. So I'd argue at the time they were the best side that we'd seen at Elland Road. I think Middlesbrough had come close to them with the way that they played. Leicester then came and probably deserved to beat us that day as well. But that side, I think Norwich have looked good, but they don't like to defend. That is one thing I will say about Norwich is defensively, they're not good. And they've conceded a lot of goals this season. They concede a lot of chances. Centrally, they're pretty slow. We've got to talk about Shane Duffy at some point, but he has played 36 games for them this season. Whether he'll end up playing at the weekend because of what's come out this week is to be known. But he's starting because he's their best choice centre-back right now. So where do they go to if he's not playing? And alongside him is, another slow centre-back, and I can't his name. It eludes me now, but I think they can be definitely got at. I think there'll be goals. I think there'll be goals both ways, because I can't imagine that we'll have done enough this week to bring back the early 2024 Leeds United. So but none of the teams are in form, Brownie. None of them. Southampton beat us on the final day, but they'd lost 3 in a row before that. They got beat by Cardiff's Kids. They got absolutely slapped up by Leicester. West Brom ended up getting a win on the final day, but they'd lost the previous 3 as well. And so none of us going with great form.
No, exactly. Ricky, you're absolutely spot on. Ricky, it is 12 o'clock, not 12:30. I'll be getting Leeds fans tuning in late. They'll probably miss it.
I thought it was 12:30 as well.
Yeah, no, it's 12.
Oh,
it's 12. 12. I know. I've just got to reorganise something with the missus now.
Yeah.
Yes, great. Couple of comments here. LUFC, we beat County 3 times. If you remember, 4th meeting, got our ass kicked. Yeah, that
we didn't know, did we? We didn't. I'm just gonna.
No, we didn't. No, we were fine.
I'm just gonna check that
for 40 minutes or something. It was.
We absolutely battered them at Elland Road. Like in that first half.
First game ever. Honestly,
the moment that the whole tie turned on was the Cooper Casillas debacle at the back. If Cooper just smashes it out for a throw-in, we win that game and we go to Wembley. I am absolutely convinced of it. But the manner in which that goal happened, to which then they were able to come out in that second half rejuvenated, it totally changed the tie. It totally changed the tie. Derby were completely second best. Now, games change in moments, and Leeds couldn't handle the pressure.
No.
Use the term bottling it if you want. We did on that day, because we should have been able to still come out with a goal advantage and deal with that in that second half. But that circumstance led to what happened. And again at Pride Park, we battered them. 1-0 flattered them. It should have been 2 or 3. And we played. I mean, that goal, I was still watching it sometimes, the Kemar Roof goal that day. Beautiful football down the left-hand side. Jack Harrison's cross was absolutely inch perfect. We played Derby off the park. But the game turned on that moment. So, you know what? If we come out and play in comparison to how we did in that first tie, we'll be absolutely fine against Norwich. My concern right now it's not that. It's the form that we've been on has shown that we're not capable of them levels right now. Yeah. So,
what do you think the Leeds players are thinking when they scroll on X and they see players from other teams singing songs about Leeds, Mavididi explicitly referencing Rutter and Somerville or whoever it was? I mean, surely that puts a fire up your backside to prove something, doesn't it? I mean, it's extraordinary, actually, when you think about the attention Leeds have got. Nobody's singing about Southampton. Nobody's singing about any of the other teams. And look, Leeds fans give it big on social media. We know that. We ram it down people's throats, and we hold a grudge forever as well. That's fine. But when the players are doing it, if you are Rutter, if you are Roden, whatever, you've got to be looking at that and you've got to be going, we want to absolutely make sure that we give our very best. I mean, do you think things like that play into it, that they care about that?
Absolutely. I think so, yeah. I absolutely believe that it makes a big difference. Now, how this group deal with that is a different question. I don't know if you remember back to when we beat Preston in the playoffs. The last time we were in the Championship playoffs, actually, as it happens. Yeah. Actually, no, not last time, because Derby was the last time. The time before that, 04, 05, I think it was. We played Preston at home in the first leg, and we drew 1-1. And after the game, Billy Davis for Derby came out and said, "Job done." I don't know if you remember this, but it was really like noticeable at the time. Came out and said, "Job done. We'll take them back to Deepdale, and we will, the game's ours." And Kevin Blackwell, who I think was probably one of the worst managers we've ever seen outside of the Premier League. I mean, all the stories that you hear about him were terrible, but it's well known that he put on the wall in Deepdale, "Job done," quotation marks. And he sent his players out with that kind of in their heads, and we ended up winning the game 2-0. And we played them off the park that day, and we did everything that we needed to do to get us to Wembley.
Yeah.
The difference there, though, is that we had some experienced pros in that side. We had the likes of, Paul Butler, Gary Kelly, Sean Gregan, Rob Hulse, Richard Cresswell, Eddie Lewis. These players that had a little, I don't want to say stomach, because that's the wrong way of putting it, but the experience, the steeliness to be able to kind of take that message and do something with it. The problem that you've got with some of these youngsters is that how do they use it? Do they become too over emotional? Do they want to, are they not able to control them emotions quite in the same way? So I'm honestly not sure. We'll only know when the team come out on Sunday and we see what performance it can give. But you would hope that it would do exactly that. If I were Coops, that's exactly what I would be using. Look at what these people are saying about us. Let's go out there and show them what we're about. Show them, play for the shirt. Do what you need to do to make it happen. So but it'll be an interesting one. As for the kind of social media circus that's been going on with Leeds, I mean, for me, it just makes me cringe. Like, a lot of fans have been loving it, but if I were an Ipswich fan, I'd be like, what are you on about? I mean, Caden Jackson's a Bradford lad. He's actually from kind of my neck of woods up in Wibsey. And he got released by Bradford. He had a trial at Leeds. He got released by Leeds as well. And he ended up having to play. He played for Albion Sports, as it happens. He ended up getting back into the game at Albion Sports and then worked his way back up. Yeah. So maybe he's a Bradford fan and maybe it's a bit more personal to him. But just enjoy your promotion, kid. Just enjoy. You finished second back-to-back promotions. Go. Why are you talking about Leeds?
Well, that's the thing. It's not like when we give this to Derby, click when we got promoted, because we had a grudge with them. We'd had recent issues with Derby, so it made sense at least.
And not only that, like nobody really battered Derby for over celebrating in Elland Road. Like they went about it without any class, but everybody kind of understood it. Like, you know, the Stop Crying Frank Lampard, they gave it back to us. You know what? Fine. We kind of deserve that.
Yeah.
This just stinks of tin pot. I can't put it any other way. It just stinks of tin pot. You know, from Leicester and Ipswich, and then some of the other fans that have been getting involved. I mean, Barnsley, like, got knocked out by Bolton, didn't they? Like, in the League One play. Like, what are you singing about Leeds for? Sunderland, who have been on an absolute stinker of form this year, they finished 17th in the table, I think. What are you singing about Leeds for? Huddersfield and Ipswich fans joining in together at full time. You've just been relegated. Like, what?
This is why I always think we need to get out of this league. That is like one of the main motivations. Just get out of the sphere of these teams, please.
It's unreal.
It's crazy.
It is. It is crazy, mate. So yeah, I just feel a bit sorry for him, if I'm honest.
Yeah, no, exactly. You mentioned earlier about Shane Duffy, and I mean, extraordinary news coming out at Norwich City on Monday about getting arrested for potential drink driving, which I think he's been charged for now. He's played 38 times for Norwich this year. It's a few days before the playoffs. What are you betting that he scores the winner in the 50th minute from a header?
I don't think he plays. I don't think
you can't, can you? Surely you can't.
But I know what you're getting at. I mean,
it's, this is a thing that, it's Leeds, isn't it? It's just Leedsy, isn't it?
But, I mean, it can't be good for preparation. I mean, Shane Duffy is one of their most experienced players. I don't think he's captain, but I would imagine he'd have been in a leadership kind of position within the squad. And I don't know what that kind of says going in. I mean, why are they even going out like to that kind of degree? Go and have a Christmas, an end of season party or whatever. Go and have a couple of drinks as a team, whatever. That's fine. But why are you getting into that kind of situation 5-6 days before a playoff semi-final? It is unbelievable. It just reeks of unprofessionalism, and you'd have to believe that kind of runs through the dressing room. If somebody as experienced as that is prepared to do that, what does it say about the rest of the changing room? So, but again, I mean, Wagner might use that as fuel. So exactly. it could end up meaning nothing. But my gut feeling is that can't be good preparation going into this game. It just can't be.
No, God, absolutely not. Looking at it going forward, then, I mean, if we manage to kind of squeak through, I'd say I would probably take a draw at this stage, Jess, to be honest with you. I know you said you're not sure, but I would probably take a draw right now. I think just with the form we're on and the fact that it's pretty tough ground to go to, I'm like, I'll take a draw.
If we'd have beaten Southampton, I'd agree with you. And I know that now doesn't mean anything. The season's done. This is a new mini tournament. I get all that. But I just think the form and I mean, we've won one game in 6, I think, or whatever it is, against Middlesbrough. I just think it's so important that we win this game and we're going with our heads ahead going into the Elland Road time, because and I've seen, I don't agree with a lot of what Connor says, and most of the people watching will know One Leeds Fan Channel, and I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he's been getting absolute pelters on Twitter today for saying that if he had the choice, he would play both ties away from home, or he said something to that effect. That basically Elland Road doesn't hold the advantage for us that it should do because of the pressure that we're that the fan base and the ground and everything else puts on the players. Whether I agree with him or not on that point specifically is irrelevant. What I will say is that he's got a point. He's definitely got a point. Elland Road this season, we've mentioned it over the last couple of weeks, has held a bit of a tension all season, I think. Even when it was going well, he's held a tension. Part of that is because of the football that we play under Daniel Farke. It creates a little bit of that. Yeah. And part of that is because of the last 2 seasons of how bad it's been. So we've kind of, whenever it's just not going right, we're just all over it. And I worry that if we come back from Carrow Road behind or even level, we go 40 minutes into that game and it's 0-0. We come out for the second half and it's still 0-0. We miss his chances. I just worry about the tension. Now, hopefully, the fans can see it as an isolated game. But everything that we've seen this season has not pointed towards that. I think of Blackburn at home not so long ago, and we weren't in horrendous form then. You know, we'd not. I don't even think we'd lost at that point when we were playing Blackburn. That was the first loss that kind of started this run of losses. You could feel it in the ground in the second half, and then when they scored, it weren't like a case of come on, like against Norwich when we got that last minute winner. It weren't that. It were we've lost. That were it. From the second we conceded that goal, we've lost. That's it. And that just worries me. And that's why I'm so kind of keen to make sure that we come away from Carrow Road with as heads ahead. But I hear you. I absolutely hear you that a draw in the game or a point wouldn't be a bad result on the face of it. I just worry about the form. It depends on the performance as well. If the performance is good, but we draw, then you've got some confidence going into Thursday, haven't you?
Yeah, I like this from Gail as well. I can't stand for much more. I know what you feel. I know how you feel, Gail. It's kind of putting us through it, isn't it? I mean, it's going to be super tense on Sunday, like you say, Jason. I'm going to be a moody git all weekend. I think thinking ahead to this one. I mean, it's just that thing, isn't it? As well with Leeds, as well. It's so dramatic. Like these type of situations are so dramatic, and a lot of times it doesn't seem to go in our favour. You know, for every kind of last minute winner against Swansea, there's been so many more instances where we've lost out in those crucial moments. And I mean, I know what you're saying, because I mean, can you imagine 8:00 on a Thursday against Norwich City in the playoff semi-final? I mean, it just smacks of that type of night, doesn't it? I mean, it reeks of
you know what I'm saying, don't you? Like,
totally. No, I get it.
I mean, look, what I will say for those fans, absolutely, you know, going out of their minds with it is that we actually have an okay form in the semi-finals. I don't know if that's much to hold on to, but I mean, certainly in my lifetime, we've had 4, and we've won 3 of them. 3 of the ties, and then the one that we didn't win, we lost at the Den, and we absolutely battered Millwall at home, and we should have gone through that day. One attack, literally, go back and watch it. It was awful. I was there that day. One attack, they scored, and we finished the game 1-1 on the day. You know, I think we got to the final against in '88. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Semi-final in '87. Then we weren't back in it until what?
87, right? Yeah. So we lost in the semis.
Well, we got to that '87. We got to semi-final at FA Cup as well.
Right. Yeah.
Against Coventry.
Yeah.
Lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
So like, I'm not like, again, I'm not kind of paralyzed by history when it comes to the playoffs. I've said this before. I think Wembley on the day would be really tricky against either Southampton or West Brom. There's not going to be much in it, but we'll talk about that if we get there. This in its, you know, isolation, it's a game that's definitely winnable for us. Neither of us are on great form. Both of us have got problems. You know, they want Wagner out, by the way. They're not particularly happy with Wagner in Norwich. You find that it's a very split fan base. I mean, earlier on this season, he was on the verge. He was really on the verge of going. So, yeah, I just think, again, get behind the boys as much as we possibly can. Don't get too consumed with it. And I say this while doing it myself, because I definitely will be over the next couple of days. I'm checking everything, like, I'm paralyzed by it. But, yeah, I just want to see a performance on Sunday. I mean, the result is what matters the most.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, the performance.
Don't give it away easily. Don't fight for it. Don't be. I mean, if it's anything like the recent performances, it's just no. I can't accept going out that way. You can't get 90 points and then just roll over at the end.
Yeah.
You just can't do
it's
it.
a very, very, very young side, though. You know, like fans as a whole, they just see the ability and just be like, it should be this. And if it's not this, the manager's at fault. That's pretty much the maths that go into kind of calculating the whole situation. And it's just not that simple. It's just it's just not that simple. You know, the lads have had a long season, and I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but it's bigger than what just happens out on the pitch. You know, maybe there has been a fallout. I don't know. I've gone back and forward with myself on this Cree thing. Maybe it's just... Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, let's dig into that, because it's an interesting one with Somerville. He's always had, I don't know, rumours. I mean, Jesse Marsh said he was the worst trainer in the squad. There's always kind of been hints at maybe attitude problems or blah, 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 blah. Obviously, there's no doubt in his impact, his championship player of the season, etc., etc. There's been a couple of moments, when he took the penalty off Peru, but he scores the penalty. I mean, it's kind of sums him up perfectly. He scored it. Do you know what I mean? He didn't bottle it. He scored it. But then he's like, all about me. And then obviously, Peru scores that weekend. He doesn't even seem to celebrate with him or anything.
Yeah.
But it's one of them situations where you go in, and I saw Cage's video on it actually, and I do think he made some pertinent points about the fact that are we now trying to read into it because the form's not good? Suddenly we're reading into every little movement and every little bit on the pitch when actually this guy is probably one of the few that looks like actually scoring a goal for us at the moment. And he made the comparison to Cage about Rafinha in that last season where everybody, not everybody, sorry, but there was a section of the fan base that were like, oh, he's already thinking about Barcelona.
People were calling to drop him.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's wild. And I get that. I really get that. But it's, I don't know. It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a tricky one.
I've had my issues with Cream. I mean, me and you have had disagreements about some of it, I'd say, for probably as long as we've been doing this together. I remember us having this conversation 2 years ago. And without a doubt, he's been absolutely sensational this season. Well deserving of being, Championship Player of the Year, along with Schmodix or Dewsbury. I wouldn't have argued between the three of them. I think all three of them have been absolutely excellent. And he's at times carried Leeds on his shoulders. And whether that then, plays into his ego and he makes it a bit about himself sometimes, I ain't got so much of a problem about that because the facts are is attacking players do that. The very, very best players do that. Look at Ronaldo, and his celebration. It's all, look at me, I'm the best. Like, I'm the man. Eden Hazard is arguably one of the best players that the Premier League's ever seen. And everybody that talks about him says he was terrible in training. He used to come out with his shoelaces undone and he'd stroll about and he wouldn't really do much. But then on a Saturday, he's going to win you the game. So I get that there's many ways to skin a cat in this. I just think, when the going gets tough, you have to make sure that you then harness that in the right way. And that, again, is Daniel Farke's man management ability. He needs to show that he can manage that effectively. I remember Simon Grayson in the run-up to the Bristol Rovers game dropping Beckford. And Beckford spoke about it openly. And it's too late to do it now because we're into the playoffs. But Beckford was dropped in the run-up to that final game. And on the final game of the season, he gave Beckford the captain's armband. And he came out that day and he had Leeds United on his shoulders, did Beckford. He absolutely carried us over the line that day. That's man management. There's many different ways to do it. And, it might have been a case for Southampton game. Drop Somerville. I'm not saying that would have been the answer. I'm just talking that there's different ways to try and get the best out of this situation. Sorry to interrupt, but there were a point early in the season where he did drop Somerville and Anthony got in. And immediately, Somerville picked it up the next game. Yeah.
It's like Nonto and James.
Yeah,
they're never better when their position is threatened by the other.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We've seen it with Bamford.
Yeah,
we've seen it. We've seen it this season. We've seen it over his time at Leeds. So, absolutely, because you've got something to prove then, haven't you? And the position is not just yours. I think that's part of the reason that we've had so much problem with Meslier over the last few years. He's had no competition, absolutely zero competition. From the day that Casilla got suspended and he had that 10-game ban, he's literally not had any threat to his position. Joe Robles was brought in for the last few games under Allardyce, and that was literally it. But he wasn't a realistic replacement for him. So it's vital within football that you don't feel like that position is just a guarantee.
No,
100%.
No. Absolutely. One man who might be able to put a smile on everyone's faces. There we go. Mr. Will Ferrell. He's been announced as one of the investors. I think the first article that run on it was like, he's a major investor in it. And you thought, Jesus Christ, there's Will Ferrell on 50% of Leeds or something. But obviously, it's just a minor investment like all the other celebrities. But it's probably one of the more notable ones, to be fair. I mean, he's been kind of hovering around football. I think he owns a team over in the States and stuff. And he's kind of another person there. And whether that kind of opens things up for documentaries and I don't know, Welcome to Wrexham type programming, who knows? I mean, this is the other thing. I mean, it ties into the fact that I feel like the club's in really good hands ownership wise. I feel like it's part of why I've made peace with if we stay in the Championship, because I think actually there's big opportunity to really restructure the balance of the squad and get that balance between youth and experience, get the positions filled up, get a proper number 10. You might lose some top ceiling quality. You might even lose an Archie Gray, but overall, maybe you can balance the squad to push a little bit harder for the entirety of the season. Who knows? Hopefully, it's going to be a little bit of a weaker Championship as well. But yeah, I mean, it all plays a part into it, doesn't it, Jace?
Yeah, we'd have absolutely nothing to fear going in the next season if we're in the Championship again. In my opinion, I really do. I think we'd build on what we have. I think we'd have a stronger squad while we would have reduced top level individuals, because I do think Somerville would 100% go. I think Nonto would probably go as well. I do think there's a world in which we'd keep on a Rutter, but it depends on the fee that had come in for him. But we would replace them players with, alternatives that would get us hopefully promoted. That'd be the way. And I trust the recruitment. The recruitment has not shown anything to me to make me think we've got anything to worry about. I absolutely agree with you 100% in the ownership. Everything we've seen so far is good. I can't imagine that they're going to lose interest just because of one failed promotion. I just can't imagine that. I think this was always a 2-year plan. In that hopefully we'll do it at the first time of asking, but if we don't, we definitely will do second year. I don't think Farker would see a second failed attempt. I definitely don't. I think he'd be gone at the end of the year or beforehand, dependent on the way that next season went. But yeah, I've got no worries about that. My main concern, when we spoke about this before, is that the quicker you get there, the quicker you can get on with making us what we hope we can be under the 49ers, which is a Villa or, whoever is now kind of tempting into that landscape. You don't want to keep on getting further and further behind the likes of West Ham, Crystal Palace, who are now making movements, Brighton. You don't want to continue to go the other way, because that's what happens. Every year that goes on that we're out of that, they just pull that 5% further forward. And that gap between staying up comfortably in 13th and 14th and 17th, 18th, 19th and 20th gets bigger. You're going to see that more than ever this season, because of the 3 that are relegated. The 3 that were promoted are going to almost certainly now come back down. That gap is just widening. It's just widening and widening, because that gap kind of gets equalised if you have, like we had when we went down, Leeds, Leicester and Southampton. We kind of neutralise that a little bit. That ain't going to happen very often. Most of the time, the promoted sides, at least a couple of them go back down. So yeah, you just don't want that to that gap to keep getting bigger.
Yeah, I think that's 100% the overriding fear of staying in the Championship, really. And Phil Hayes written an article actually earlier about a Leeds in trouble if they don't, get promotion. And what it seems to be is you're looking at this 2-year mark. If we get to the end of year 2 in the Championship and we're staying in the Championship, then you've got a problem, because the parachute payments are radically reduced. And like you say, that gap, I mean, I'm watching the other night, Crystal Palace dumped Man United on their ass, and you're watching Elise and Eze, and you're looking at the quality that Crystal Palace, how many years have Palace been in the top division now? 12 years or something stupid. They're on the longest run, and they're just growing and building, like you say, Brighton and all these other clubs. And then if, let's say we don't go up next year, and then, maybe you get a promotion in 5 years' time, what does that jump look like? How hard is that to engineer when you're there? It's all right getting there, but then when you're there, the reality is you're so far behind. I mean, this is why really, we've just got to bounce. We've just got to bounce back. I mean, look at Villa. I mean, how long were Villa in the Championship when they went down? 1 year, was it, or something? 2 years. It's like, and now look at them. I mean, 4th in the bloody league. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. We were on an even keel with them. 18 months ago, we were ahead of them.
It shows it can be done as well, though, Brownie, because I mean, Villa were in a mess. They were in a real mess when they were in the Championship, and they got an ownership takeover, and they managed to build and get back. And the position that they're now in. I mean, bear in mind, it was goal line technology that saved them from going down under COVID. So
jammy.
That's the fine line. I know that's the fine lines that you're dealing with, but it shows again though that they can go on and push on because of the fan base that Villa have and the location in the country and the stadium, the reputation. They've been able to rebuild that back up regardless of relegation. And we've been away from it a lot longer than Villa. But it shows that it can be done. It absolutely shows that it can be done. I have no doubt, and hopefully I'm not proven wrong with this, but if the 49ers were in charge of us in season 1 of the Premier League, I have no doubt that we would have built a completely different side under Bielsa to keep us up and be as sustainable.
Yeah,
be more sustainable. Because, Bielsa told us, this can only last so long. He told us, and we were just wheeling out the same. Anyway, they were going over all ground. But the point is that the 49ers, I do trust in them, that they've got this right. We've seen everything we've seen this season shows us that they're making smart football decisions.
Yeah.
I just hope they get to show us that as quickly as possible. The more and more I think about this, and I don't want to get into this really until after we hopefully get promoted, the question about Daniel Farke in the Premier League, I think is definitely a very, very valid one. Very valid. We've now had a full season to be able to kind of properly analyse him and properly scrutinise what he's about. And I really worry about him in the Premier League. I'm not saying that we just go up and sack him. I think that would take extremely strong management and we'd need a proper plan. We need a proper plan of who's coming in, like Bournemouth did with Iriola, like it's snap. And you're still running a risk that you get that wrong. But I can now understand it. And if we ended up, 7-8 games into the Premier League and we're on 4 points, boom.
No Norwich.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. And you bring somebody in to be able to sort that.
Well, it's funny, actually, you mentioned this, because I was thinking today, I don't know why I got on this train of thought, but I was thinking, like, if Leeds got promoted, but let's say there's that golden manager there who's available for whatever reason, do you make that, let's say it's 12 months ago and Iriola's available. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to turn that down, are you? I mean, look at the job he's done at Bournemouth. That could have been us. We could have had him. Yeah. It's like, if the right man is there, do you act like killers and just make it happen, or do you, sentimentality FC it and not sentimentality. So you've got to give him a shot in the Premier League. But I agree. I think there's big concerns. I don't see a coach or a manager who is at the cusp of with their tactics. I don't feel like he's as kind of creative as like a McKenna, or they are quite as kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
I know what you're saying.
When you look at like an Iriola, you look at these kind of, I don't feel we're necessarily. I think what you're getting is someone who's proved he could get a team up from the Championship.
Yeah.
But then you look at the rest of his managerial career, and it's not. It doesn't set the world alight.
I think you have to be careful between mixing up sentimentality and wanting continuity, because I think there is a lot to be said for continuity in a time, and especially in football, where we're just a throwaway kind of culture, in that, or a few bad results, sacking. You can't build anything if that's going to be your attitude. If David Moyes would have. If most West Ham fans would have had their way with David Moyes 2 years ago, they'd have never seen a European Cup final win. Yeah. And we live in a time where everything is just, you're one bad result away, more than ever now in football, from saying, it just should be sacked. There were people saying that we should sack Farke after Blackburn. And it's like, come on, get a grip. You need some perspective on this situation. I know the one result weren't good, but just because you're not top of the league don't mean that you should just sack the manager. Look at Hull and Rossini. I mean, it's just nuts. It's just nuts. But that is the game that we work within, and I do think that clubs that can build for the future properly, the manager, the players, the coaching staff, the academy, everything falls down under a structure. You need to try and keep that continuity as much as you can. That said, you have to try and make the best informed decisions that you can based on what you see. So I do see both sides of it. I'm not advocating change. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that there definitely is a question to answer because of the lack of capability to change, especially tactically in games. You're going to be coming up against far more, a far higher caliber of manager in the Premier League. And he struggled with dealing with Cifuentes and his changes, or even Andre Brighton against Huddersfield. He struggled at times to change these games. So that would be a concern to me.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, before we kind of finish up then, Jason, let's bring it back round to Sunday's game, 12 o'clock, not 12:30 as we previously stated. It is 12 o'clock. What do you think then, mate? I mean, it's just time to perform, isn't it? Time to do it. Let's not have one of those awful Leeds United days. Let's have something positive, please.
I feel it's almost impossible to make a prediction. Because it completely depends on what team turns up in terms of the performance that we put out. If the QPR performance turns up, we'll get absolutely smashed. We'll be 3-0 down in first half and we'll be dead and buried. If the team turns up against Middlesbrough, it'll be a basketball game and we'll come out of it either side of one goal, but it could be 4-3 or 3-4. It could be all sorts of different scores. If the performance, any one of the performances pre-international break will probably be too much for them to break down. We'll defend really, really well and probably win 1 or 2-0. So it feels almost impossible to kind of call. I worry that I would be really, really... I know I've said that I wanted to see 4-3-3, right, and changes and stuff, but I would be really, really concerned if he does make big wholesale changes, because I think it then would say to us he stopped believing in what he was trying to do. And the players will also feel like that too. I know it's what we all want to see, but I don't think it'd go the way that you would be expecting it to go. I think you would see 10, 15 minutes of a reaction before the plan would unfold and we'd end up losing the game. That's what a God's honest feel. I feel the best way to get a result at the weekend is hopefully having Bamford up front. No Bamford slander ever again, because I said this would happen when he was out of the team. He's made that much of a difference. I don't think we'll lose 4-0 against QPR if he's playing that day. Because it gives us opportunity to get out of the back four. He holds up the ball a bit. He wins free kicks, and we get a chance to build into the game. It depends what Melier turns up, whether Popadoman turns up, because he's just back to being a hologram again, and he doesn't save anything. We just need some mental strength. Yeah, we need to work around a plan. We need to take his chances. Yeah, I think it'll be tight. I would be very... I know. I'd be very happy if we can get to half-time at 0-0, build into the game, see some performance back in. We need to see some defensive rigidity and structure, because we were so good earlier on this season, but in the last 5 games, I think we've conceded something like 12 goals, which is just so unlike us.
Crazy.
So yeah, that's what I'd like to say. If you're gonna push me for a prediction, mate, 2-2. 2-2.
2-2. Okay.
Which I don't think is good enough for us personally, but 2-2.
No, exactly. Arthur 2-2. He's saying as well. Gale 2-0 to Norwich.
Do you think we get through the tie?
Gale.
I'm going to fire it back to you. Do you think we get through the tie?
I'm finding it really hard to stick on a position. 1 minute I'm like, it's going to be a walk in the park for Norwich. Then I'm thinking, no, we're gonna show something. Unfortunately, I think with the recent form, I don't think Farke's going to change it enough. I don't think we have that experience. So I don't think we are. No, I really don't. But I don't want it to be a crap performance, is all. Do you know what I mean?
Just to put the caveat out there, right? They're all dreading playing us. Like, I was watching some Norwich content earlier, and they were saying the one team that they really didn't want to play in the playoffs was Leeds.
Yeah.
We sometimes get kind of sucked into just seeing the Leeds perspective of it. Like, bear in mind, we've still been the 3rd best team in the division all season. We finished 17 points clear of Norwich, and we've beaten them twice. Yeah. We are kind of quick to forget that because of this form. I do think it kind of just... Bear in mind, when we beat Derby in that first playoff game, back under Bielsa, we'd only won 1 of the previous 5. We were on awful form. We lost the last game of the season against Ipswich away, and they got relegated. Yeah, so all I'm saying is again that it doesn't have to paint the full picture. Yeah, we very much could just turn up with a performance on Sunday.
Do you think you'll know within kind of like 15 minutes what we're getting? that day a little bit?
I'm not so sure because we've seen good 15, 20 minutes and then we've seen it go in the toilet. So I'm not sure. I think if we score in the first 10, 15 minutes, I think we win the game comfortably because we've seen that. I think the confidence that would give them, the pressure that then puts on them, their fans then, because again, there's two teams in this, there's two sets of fan bases, and they'll be kind of throwing in the towel after 15 minutes if we're 1-0 up. So, and we're capable of doing that. There were, I think, up until the second to last game of the season, we were the team that scored the most goals in the first 15 minutes. So, yeah, we're capable. We're definitely capable. I'm really on the fence with it. I am. I'm similar to you. I understand your kind of feeling to it as well. All depends on what Leeds United turns up, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It really does. Please come on, give us a performance. Some stuff to check out on the channel. We've got the Avi Fest video diary up from our game at Bradford Park Avenue, where a few of the West Yorkshire Football Show lads were there. So check that out as well. I'm back tomorrow on the channel with a chat with BBC's Adam Pope as well, chatting all things Leeds United. If you didn't get your fill tonight, so do check that. Myself and Jason, we will be back at the weekend for a post-playoff stream. I mean, it's that sends shivers down my spine, Jason.
What time are we saying Sunday?
Well, it's a choice. Yeah, I'll talk to you after about that because there's two options with that. But it's going to happen one way or another anyway. God help us. So hopefully it'll be the right result.
You might see a complete meltdown, especially after the Thursday one. Oh my God!
Honestly, if it was another QPR, it would be full meltdown. I think there's no stopping it if that happens. I want to thank everyone who's watched along tonight and got the comments in. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, then please do. Please like the video as well. Myself and Jason, we will be back. We will be back at the weekend and see where we're at. Then going into that second leg on Thursday.
No watch along.
No watch along, no. Great stuff. I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
And thank you all for watching along. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.